Chuck Etheridge here to talk with you about interviewing techniques. Remember, our assignment is to interview someone about the career that you aspire to do, and and in particularly get some information about the kinds of writing they do, how they go about doing their writing, and collect some samples if at all possible as well. Now, we've talked a little bit about how to set up the interview. You would make contact with that person either via email, telephone, or professional behavior, both, and set up a time when you can meet. It's best to do it in person. If you cannot do it, a telephone interview is okay. An email exchange is a distant and sad third. If that's the only way you can get the interview, it's the only way you can get the interview. But it's best to speak with a person directly, either in person, best possible scenario, or acceptable scenario on the telephone. So assuming that you are going to meet this person, we've talked about this before, you want to dress professionally. Again, you don't have to dress for a night at the Ritz in a ball gown, but, you know, decent, modest clothing, no shorts and t-shirts or flip-flops or things like that as well. So, because remember, you're making a professional impression. These people are going to remember you. They will. Hopefully they'll remember you positively as well. So you show up. When you see them, again, you introduce them. Hi, I am Jorge Sanchez. It's very nice to meet you. Thank you for taking the time. Remember, we are going to talk about the kinds of writing that you do in your career field, and I hope to learn more about your career as a patrol officer, just as an example as well. So you thank them again for their time, and you remind them of what it is that you're going to be talking about as well. Now, hopefully, I expect you to have prepared to have a list of questions. So before you begin the interview, I will say I generally do not take notes. I'm sorry, I'll belay that. I always take notes. I generally do not record the interviews that I do. I just find I get better interviews when they're more spontaneous, when there's not a recording device going. I also type very fast and I take very good notes. That is up to your call. The other thing is, if you get an interview, you're going to get an enormous amount of information, more than you can plow through, but that's another story entirely. But on the other hand, the nice thing about getting an interview, if they're willing to let you tape them, is that you have then the exact transcript of what they said. So if you didn't get something down, you can go back through and listen to it just to double check as well. But you need to decide beforehand if you want to ask if you can tape the interview or record the interview. And then once you go, you need to ask again. And be prepared for whatever answer they say. If they say yes, then take out your recording device and do the recording. If they say no, you need to respect that. It is illegal to tape someone without their permission. Let me just tell you that straight up front. And you also need to practice. Make sure you've got the technology ready to go. Make sure you've got good batteries, or you're fully charged on your phone or whatever recording device you do as well. So once you start recording, again, you'll have a series of questions. Now you need to ask your questions, and what often happens is they'll start talking and you'll get all this great information and you don't need to ask all your questions. Sometimes that'll be great. Sometimes they will be very short in their answers, and you can ask follow-ups. Well, that's interesting. Can you tell me more? Because the idea is to get as much information as you can as well. If they go off on some tangent, oh, that reminds me of the time back in '06 when Uncle Ed... just listen for a moment politely. That's very interesting, but can we get back to the topic of your writing? Or, can you tell me more about how you got into your career field? It's okay to politely steer them back. Again, I would take notes regardless of whether or not you are recording, because taking notes, writing down what people say, it's actually flattering. It also shows that you're sincerely interested in what they're saying. Little verbal cues, little nods. That's interesting. Can continue the conversation away. Also, body language. Doesn't sound as if I'm very interested in what you have to say, does it? Lean forward just a little bit. Not so far that you're being creepy, but just a little bit lean forward. It signals I'm interested. I respect you. I want to know what you have to say. And as much as possible, go through your interview. Try to stick to the amount of time that you promise them. I tell people roughly half an hour. It often doesn't take that long, but get there early. Try to stick to your time. If it winds up running long, apologize once you get done with the interview. Thank them again for their time. Ask if you can ask them a follow-up in an email and get their email address. And one of the little things we're going to do is we're going to write a little professional thank you note, just so we can get in the habit of doing it. Because you should always thank people for talking to you. You should thank people for interviewing you, and we're going to do those things as well. So again, just friendliness, politeness, respect for your time, preparation so you have a series of questions so you get the information you need to know. Most of you all will get good information. Some of you all may have lousy interviews, and if that happens, we'll just have to find somebody else. But I think for the most part, 99% of you are going to find that you'll learn stuff you didn't know, you'll learn stuff you didn't dream you needed to know about your career, and you probably will find it pretty exciting to do this assignment. So thanks for your time, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with. Thanks.